let's do this. What's the challenge for today? Money spent on Christmas gifts. Alright. Let's do it. Money spent on Christmas. Christmas can be very expensive. Plot a line of how much Americans think they're spending on Christmas gifts over the years. Okay. So my battery is just about to die in my camera, which is poor planning on my part. Let's change that sucker. Okay. Can I quit some of this stuff? Maybe. Okay, I'm not moving. No camera. Camera live. What? Why is there no camera? Ah, there we go. Okay, this crashed. It's live. There we go. I'm moving. Some zooming action, or I mean some focus action. Now let's see. Plotting a line of how much Americans think they're spending on Christmas gifts over the years. We can do that. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do that in a code sandbox again. Let's see. I am live. Stream health is dodgy, and nobody is watching. Perfect. Please check it. The current resolution is 1920 by 1080, which is not optimal. The stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. We recommend to use a stream bitrate of 2500 kilobytes, whatever that means. Okay, we can deal with that some other day. So, a sandbox. We're gonna create a new Reacty sandbox because these are React data visualizations. And let's see, I'm logged in. What did I do? Create a React sandbox. Fork. Now let's see. ReactVizHoliday. Holiday Day 2. Money spent on Christmas. Take that, and we're gonna take this sucker, put it over here. Bam. Yay. Alright. Let's see. So we have the data set here. Download that sucker. I'm gonna put it on the desktop because I'm lazy. And we might end up using the same trick from yesterday to... Okay. Okay. So that's a very easy data set for us. So because it's a small data set, I'm going to use the trick of copying it once again. So we got that, and we're gonna go here, public, create a data set, data.tsv, because I think it's gonna paste as a tab separated data set, or tab separated values. We'll paste it, say year. It didn't do that. So let's change it to a CSV then. CSV. And we're gonna say, oh, so okay, so they are actually tabs. TSV year and what is this? So we already have the average dollar spent. Okay, average spend, and I'm going to change all of these apostrophes to be 20s. Let's see. Oh, perfect, that does work. So we can replace every apostrophe with a 20. Wonderful. 2099, 1999, 2000, 2001, all the way to 2018. Cool. So we go to the source and let's see. ReactVizHoliday day 2, or how did we do the previous one? Let's go check. What kind of metadata should I be showing here? Ah, that's a lot of views. 1,000 views on this one, that's pretty cool. Wow. Okay, that is a lot more than I was expecting. That's pretty cool. Christmas tree sold in USA. Okay, that's how we're doing it. So, money spent on Christmas and hashtag ReactVizHoliday. ReactVizHoliday day 2. What do you mean by the write-up interview? Also, hi, Ein bisschen. I'm not sure what you mean by write-up interview. Can you explain that one? Money spent on Christmas. Did I add more descriptions here? Yesterday? Wow, I did this yesterday and I can't remember anymore. Crazy. No. So we are going to start once more with an SVG, and this time we're going to create a simple line chart, because line charts, well, because the point of this one is to make a line chart, and we're gonna get into more interesting visualizations later on in the month. I wanna make sure we start off easy, or simple at least, so that people can see the basics first. So we're gonna have an SVG with a width of 800 and a height of 600, and this time we're building a line chart. First we have to load our data set, obviously. So class app extends react.app, render returns that stuff like that, and we're gonna do a component date mount. I feel like at some point we should try doing this with hooks, because it's gonna be cool that way, and it's gonna be interesting to learn. Deployment, GitHub file editor, configuration, no, project info. Where do I get dependencies? There we go. So we're gonna need a D3 dependency, pop, like that, and we're gonna say d3.csv, we're loading /data.tsv, so we said it's a TSV, and once the data is loaded, we're gonna console log it just to see what's up. And we have to import asterisk as D3 from D3. Wow. Okay, so I'm still getting used to using the Restream chat room. Let's see if this data loads. Component date mount. Super expression must either be null or a function. What? Oh, React.component is what we're extending. Cool, we get a bunch of objects that have they have strings, so we have to parse that to be our beautiful data. So we're gonna say each line is going to become an object where year is number of d.year and average spend is a number of d.average spend. Cool. So now when that console logs, we should see it like this. Wonderful. That works. Index.js, now we need to pass that data into a line chart, and once more, because we know the data isn't changing, we can make the line chart, we can do it the easy way without having to worry about updates. So let's see, SVG and SVG, and we make a line chart where data is data, and our data is going to be here. So we say const, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that, const data equal comes from state, and we say here, we say this set state data, and in the beginning our data has to be null. That we have the line chart data, and let's make sure it's not rendering while data is loading. So if there's no data yet, we don't show the line chart, we show blankness. Cool. And now we say import line chart from /line chart. And we create a new file called linechart.js. Then we go into the line chart and say import React from React, and import asterisk as D3 from D3. And we're gonna make it a class component, because that way we can locally define various things that we need. So we say class line chart extends React.component. Wonderful, and we render the thing. For starters, it's going to return null, and we say export default line chart. Now let's say that we want to accept X and Y components. Yes, so when you have a component with subcomponents in the same file, you can export just the main component, and it's going to automatically, you can think of exports as essentially being an object that locally has access to everything in that file, and everything in the file is like a singleton. So if you have some, let's say if you had const foo equals 5 here, or let's say if you did it this way, let's say this is a timestamp. This foo timestamp would be the same for every time you import something, which means that you can, there's a lot of cool tricks you can do with that, but basically each file as it's instantiated is a singleton object, or basically the only instance of that thing that exists anywhere in your project. So whatever it has access to, it has access to anywhere, and you can do local changes or whatever. It's all going to propagate throughout your repository, throughout your project. One thing you do have to be careful about is that what should I say, is that when you have local dependencies that you're not exporting, the outside will not have access to those. So if I have this foo here, I can use it inside the line chart, but in the index.js where I'm importing the line chart, I don't have access to that foo. Does that make sense? Okay, I am getting better at the Restream chat room. Okay, so hopefully that answered Ein Bisken's question, but it's a good idea for a blog post. So I will write it down. Blog imports are singletons. There. Chicken scratch. I'm gonna write about this at some point in the near future, because I think it's an important concept that people tend to forget about or don't think about. So we're gonna take X and Y from props, because that will let us position the line chart around. So let's see, line chart, let's give it an X of, and let's do it at 50-50. 50-50 makes sense. 50-50. Line chart JS. Now we always start with the grouping element. Add a transform. Transform, and we say translate $x $y. That positions our graph, our chart where we want it. Now let's see, what should we render in here? So we're gonna have to iterate over the data, and we're gonna be making a line chart, which means we need to, what do we have to use to do that? Let's see how the D3 line generator works. GitHub D3, because I know it has a built-in support for generating lines, so perhaps we can use that. Wiki, API reference, line, lines. Wonderful. So D3 line is a thing that exists and creates lines like this. Wonderful. Okay, let's do that. So we're gonna say gonna need a line generator, a new line generator with default things. So we're gonna say line equals d3.line, and our x is going to be a function, so x's are going to be years, d.year, and y's are going to be d.average spend. Yeah, cool. That's gonna be what's defined. Okay, cool. So we're gonna see what that does. So we have a grouping element, and inside it we're going to generate a path. Let's call it a line because we're gonna style it. And this line is going to take a D attribute. It calls this dot line with data, which comes from props, and that should actually generate our entire line. And I'm going to import styled components, dependencies, add dependencies, styled components, because I like those. Styled components, visual primitives, blah, import styled from styled components, and we say const line equals styled dot path with, let's see, let's start with a very simple definition where we have a stroke of 2 pixels. Stroke width is going to be 2 pixels, and we're gonna have stroke is going to be steel blue, because that is a very common color that everybody uses. So we should now, in theory, have a rendered line chart. Well, does it work? It does not. Why does it not work? So the SVG is being generated. There's a transform element, and there is in fact a path. But why is this path invisible? I think it's because it's jumping way over the place. So next thing we're gonna do is create once more a what's the scale we used yesterday? I think it was the band scale. So we're going to say x is d3.scale_band with a domain of our domain is going to be this.data.map, and for each data point we're going to take the year. Those are all of our available inputs, and range is going to go from 0 to the width that we want, like that. So now we pass for every time the line generator wants to get an x coordinate, it's going to go through the x scale, take and pass in the year, and return return the correct value. Cannot read this dot props dot data dot map. Let's see. Okay, now we need the vertical scale, which is going to be a scale linear that goes from 0 to, let's say, also 600, and a range. Oh, actually, our domain goes from 0 to d3 max of this props data, where we care about the average spend. So that's the maximum. Okay, and our range goes from 0 to, let's say, 600. And J, I am on Twitch as well, so I am currently streaming to YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Let's see, why is this not working? Okay, so the next step, this should indeed be working, but it isn't, because where is this path? Why is this grouping element so far down? Or rather, why doesn't it have a width or anything? Let's see. Oh, cool. Okay. I clicked something. How do I get out? Oh, close. Interesting. Help, I got stuck in things. Oh, that's the preview. 4 out of 4 connected. Analytics. Okay, that's cool. Alright, that's fun. Now where was I? Why is our path not being visible, and why is it positioned so weirdly? Let's see. We are supposed to be calling the line with data. Alright, so let's see what happens if we console log some things. So console log data 0, and let's see what that does. So load, get year 1999 and average spend of 857. So if we pass that into our data accessor, so we say this x of data 0.year. Oh, here we should actually be calling the y-axis, the y-scale, and we console log this.y of data 0.average spend, And we should see now if we get any reasonable values out of it. Yes, there we go. Progress. Okay. So now we have to make sure that the scale... So what happens if we invert the range? It's going to... yeah, so it flips the whole thing, and that doesn't work very well. So the problem we're having right now is that scales act funny. So 0 to 600, and here we're going to say 600 minus this y. Now, what if let's position it at 0, 0 first. Okay, and let's add a fill of none. Cool, so now we have a line. The problem is just that it's all the way down. So let's try moving it further up by changing the range to 300. Okay. So now it's higher up, but it's also got less varied. So what's the problem here again? We need to... so because on the vertical axis 0 is on the top and maximum is at the bottom, that means we have to specify the y-axis as offset from 0 down. So if we change this from 600 to... if we invert the range, that gives us a better... yeah, that looks better. Now we have to make sure that what we're seeing is actually correct. How do we do that? Let's console log the data and see that the values make sense, roughly. So the first one is 857, so that's up here. And that means we expect the 1, 2, 3, 4th one to be a very low number, and it is. Okay, so this is now working correctly. Now let's go back and move it more towards the right. So if we say 100, no, let's do 50 and let's move it by 100 pixels down. Cool, so now we have the line. Let's make the borders nicely rounded. Let's see, how do I make the border rounded? Path SVG path edge round. Rounded corner. Stroke line cap, I think that's the one, or line join. No, that's a rounded rectangle. Line cap, or that's the line cap. I need the line join. What are the values? Line cap round. Okay, so if we say stroke line join round, okay, those are now, you might not be able to see this, but these are much more pleasant rounded edges. And we can also say that the width is only 1.5 pixels, or we can say that it's 5 pixels. See, and that makes it more obvious that it's rounded. Let's put it to 3 pixels because I like 3 pixels, and we can also give it a nicer color. Let's see what happens if we go with a nice Christmas red. Green, because money is a green color. Lighten the green. Does that work? New. How do we lighten colors again? Oh yeah, can do it this way. D3 dot, I know D3 has a light and color version. Lighten, color, colors, brighter. So if we say D3 dot color dot brighter of green, that should work, right? No? How do I do custom stuff in styled components again? Okay, color.brighter is not a function. Ah, that's how we do it. So D3 color of green dot brighter. Yay! Brighter by 2 by 1.5. Cool. So that gives us a nice green color. Next thing we need is to actually define the width and height of our line chart based on the index. So based on props, so we're gonna say width is, let's make it 500, and height, let's say, is still 600. So we're gonna use that here. So this props width and this props height. Great, so now we can define how this works. Now what else do we need? Let's make it actually wider. Maybe 700 pixels wide? No, that's too wide. 650 pixels. Cool. Now let's add a very simple axis at the bottom that just says, it gives us what do we want to have. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to time box this. I said I wouldn't spend more than an hour on each of these every day, unless it's like crazy fun. So we said we're just plotting a line of how much Americans think they're spending on Christmas gifts over the years. Okay. So let's add years, because years are important. So because I am lazy, I'm going to render an axis. So we're going to say axis, which is going to be just an axis, and we're going to create a new axis component using D3 black box, because I'm too lazy to make my own axis right now. And so I'm going to just use D3 black box, which is a thing I built once upon a time. And we say const axis equals import D3 black box from D3 black box, and this lets us embed, or this lets us essentially wrap pure D3 code in a what's it called, in a React component. So we take D3 black box, which gets an anchor and props. Okay, and we're going to return, or rather it's going to be a function that says D3 select anchor.current. I wonder if anchor should actually be called a ref. That would make like code easier to read when other people are reading this, wouldn't it? We can change that some other time. So anchor.current, and we say we call our axis code on it. We're gonna say const axis equals D3 axis bottom with a scale that is our x scale, or let's props.scale, and I'm gonna pass in our x scale so that I don't have to redefine it. Scale equals this dot x, and let's see if an axis shows up. When is it useful to wrap in a component instead of... It's a good question. So a fragment is... A React fragment is basically a wrapper that doesn't render itself. What we're doing here is more like... a fragment is a component that renders its children but not itself. What I'm doing here is essentially taking D3 code and turning it into something that is a React component. So it's not exactly the same. They're actually very different concepts. Here I'm making it easy for me to use D3 code inside a React context, whereas fragments are a purely React concept so that you can reduce the number of nested DOM children that you have on the page once you're rendered. So what am I doing wrong? I seem to have forgotten how D3 black box works, so let's check it out. D3 black box, let's see. See, I knew I had an example somewhere. Bar chart. Okay. So let's see. Or okay, it looks like that part is working. I just forgot how anchor current call axis props of undefined, so ticks of undefined. Am I getting props? Console log of props. Let's see what shows up. Aha, props are empty. Oh, because I added them to the wrong component. Ha! There we go. Now a wild axis shows up. So we can also position this axis and say x is 0 and y is this dot is height. So we go here and we take height from props and it should move down. Why do I have to keep refreshing this manually? X, Y, 600, yeah. Oh, I know. Height minus 20. For some reason it's not refreshing itself today. Let's see. Where is axis rendering itself? SVG, G transform, translate 0, 580. Where are you, Mr. Axis? Okay, instead of 0, 580, what if we just say 300? Huh. Okay. Okay. It also doesn't seem to be super aligned. I'm not sure why it doesn't feel aligned, but okay. So we got that. Now let's add some What should we add? And let's say the range for this goes from 300. That way we get more variability, but no, we need 0 to be at 0, right? Okay, so let's put this at height minus 50. That's gonna put it way too far down. Why is height so far away? How tall is our... Okay, so you see this? That is a problem. There's too much space here because 0 is too far away. How can we solve that? What if we say scale log? Will it completely die? And if we start at 1, nope, scale log is not a good solution either. So it has to be a linear scale. We're just gonna have to unfortunately say that so if the minimum is 600, that means that having a scale that goes from 0 to 866 is not very useful. So we're gonna set the minimum at 500. That gives us bigger variance, and we can reduce the height of our our line chart to 400. So we will now have a line chart that is more readable, like that, but we need a scale on the left side. Or do we want a scale on the left side, or do we want to make it interactive? What do you think? And it bothers me that these fuckers aren't aligned. My y-axis from 500, okay. So I think I did. Did we? Yeah, we started it from 500. So let's make another axis. This is going to be bottom axis. Let's make a left axis, D3 black box, anchor props, and it's going to be pretty much the same code. Axis equals D3 axis left, scale props dot scale, D3 dot select anchor current, call axis. So we got that. Let's make, this is our bottom axis. Let's add a left axis that has the vertical scale of y and x of 0 and y also of 0. So let's see what happens there. Aha! Cool. And now if we move this to height, oh wow. I'm commenting this on YouTube. Cool. So we now have, it's weird that the starts at 500, goes up to 800 something. The problem I'm having is that these lines aren't perfectly aligned, or are they? So what I would need is some sort of way to interact with the graph. How can we do that? We're gonna add an interaction point at every part of the graph that will draw a vertical line so we can kind of see which year stuff aligns with. Yes, that's gonna be fun to build. So let's do it. We're gonna add interaction points on top of our line. So they're gonna be like little emojis. I love emojis. Let's do emojis. So we map through the data, data.map, and for each one of those we are going to render what? Let's render a text element that has an x of this dot x of d dot year and a y of this dot y of d dot average spend, like that, and is a money emoji. So let's see, money, like that, and text. Let's see if they show up. Yeah. And let's say they are called money. So we go here and we say const money equals style.text. Font size is 20 pixels. And for each one of them, we're going to say text anchor center. Let's see if that shows up. Yay! So now we have little monies flying around. That's great. They're not perfectly aligned, but we can add some interactivity. So let's say cursor pointer. Now when I mouse over them, they do this stuff. And we can say, how do we add a hover? What happens if I say title hello? I think I saw that working somewhere. Haha, okay. So now here we can do d.average spend $. So now when we interact with them, they show us how much money is being spent on that year. And we can add some explanation while we're right here. So we say P and P, and we say Christmas spending rose steadily until 2008 when it crashed for some strange reason. Nobody knows why. For some strange reason we add a thinking emoji. Come on, thinking emoji, show up. It's been growing back again. It's been growing again. Sign of the economic times. Replace the whole bar with emojis. What do you mean by that? So like not even have the line? So now, yeah, I don't think that would work for a line chart. But it bothers me that they're not aligned well. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. But first, let's go back to the line chart and say on hover this dot highlight d dot year. So here we're going to say highlight, highlight equals a method that gets a year and says this set state highlight year, like that, and our state is going to begin with highlight is null. So we're gonna add a little interaction where it's going to show a vertical line once we hover over something. Yeah, emoji should be wrapped, blah. And we're going to render here a little highlight. If highlight exists, otherwise null. Highlight exists. If it exists, we render a highlight of at x equals what? What does the x equal? X equals this dot x of highlight. Like that, and we're going to make a highlight component. Const highlight equals. Now let's do it this way. Let's say const highlight equals a styled line. Highlight is a styled line that has a stroke width of 1.2 pixels and color gray. And let's see, can we actually, no. So it's going to have x of the highlight, y equals 0. So y is going to be 0 and x1 and y1. Then x2 is also going to be this dot x of highlight. And y2 is going to be our height. And we're going to take the highlight not from props but from state. Highlight equals this dot state. And let's change this to be highlight year. Highlight year. Highlight year. And highlight year. And here we say highlight year and highlight year. Now let's see if that works. What is it complaining about? Oh, that's what it's complaining about. Like that. We were calling it automatically when rendering. So now we have to make sure that highlight year is actually showing up. So we can do that by changing this to 2007 and seeing if it shows up. So there's no highlight year being shown, which means we should check what's up. So SVG, G-transform, path, text, these are our emojis, then there's a line. It goes from 260 to 260 400. Oh, not color gray but stroke gray. There we go. And it needs to be a light gray stroke. Light gray. Hey Huang, happy to hear you're appreciating it. I can't chat back to you because the restream chat only allows reading on Facebook. So, but thanks for stopping by. I'm happy you're enjoying it. Okay, so we should make this actually go a little bit beyond the edges. So let's see. Where are we? height, let's do plus 50, and let's say minus 20. No, wrong one. Here, y0 will be minus 20, and height will be height plus 20. So now it goes over, and you can see that stuff is not lining up, which is weird because it should be lining up. Okay, so what we can do here, what is it that we can do here? We can move the scale. Okay, but let's see. If we change this to null, and let's make it even lighter, 0.8 pixels. So now when I, okay, it can do 0.8. Can it do 1 pixel? Why is hover not working? Console log year. Let's see, why aren't we hovering that shit? Oh, on hover is an unknown event. On mouse over. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh, come on. So now Code Sandbox is layouting weirdly, and I am over my 1 hour limit. But that is working pretty well. I think we could add some transitions to make it smoother, but first I gotta figure out why. Oh, right. So what you'll notice here on this axis is that each data point lies directly in between the axes, but we actually want it to behave a different way. And our emojis need a little offsetting. So let's see. Text anchor. Let's first center the emojis. What if we say middle? Now, what are the possible text anchor values? SVG text anchor and alignment baseline. So I am start, middle, end. Okay, so it's not center, it's middle. Let's fix that first. So here where we have center. Oh, we also don't need this console log anymore. Pop, pop. And center we say middle. Oh, and there was a typo. So we should now see them better aligned. Okay, now they're in the middle. Awesome. And let's alignment baseline. There. So I'm not sure. SVG text vertical align. Horizontally and vertically. Okay. Oh, alignment baseline. Okay, let's try alignment baseline then. So our text is, I wonder if we can put this in CSS. Let's see. Text anchor middle. Oh, we can. Nice. Alignment baseline central. Cool. So now our emojis are where we expect them to be. Next is aligning the D3 axis so that it's using proper whatever that's called. So let's see. D3 axis scale band. I'm sure there's an example. How do I tell it to align? Yes, that's the scale band. So my problem is, how do I tell the axis to label not the edges between years, but to count those as the data points? Let's see, what does the D3, what does the scale band give us? Scale band, domain, range, range round, padding inner, padding outer, align. Okay, no, that's not it. Aha! Point scales, that's what I wanted. Let's try point scales. Scale, point. Yay, and now it's aligned properly. Cool. So now you can go to any one of these things and see how it works. Let me see if I can add a CSS transition to the highlight line. Transition X 1 second. No. CSS transition. How do I do a simple CSS transition? Transition width 2 seconds. Okay, so I was doing it right and it's not exactly working, so we're not gonna deal with that right now, but we could have added a nice transition to make the so that the highlight doesn't jump around but goes to where blah. Sorry, my brain is getting loopy. But let's say on mouse out we say this dot unhighlight, this dot unhighlight, and we say unhighlight equals a function that sets state so that highlight year is null. So now on mouse over, on mouse out, let's see if, why isn't it working? Oh, it is working. Cool. And the only thing left is moving the highlight to be rendered underneath the emojis. And we would like scales to also be rendered underneath everything because of the thing on the left, so that it looks nice. Voila. And we have a nice line chart of money spending habits of Americans on Christmas based on a phone poll. Cool. Let's make a GIF of it, post it on Twitter, and then I will turn off the stream and write a write-up of this that will be live tomorrow morning. Let's see, 720. Oh, right, that was the problem last time. And if I just move that up, that doesn't work. So let's do 960 then. Oh, that's what I did last time. I used the other GIF making tool that I have. Record video. Record GIF. Cool. Got that. Stop the recording, and I'm gonna stop streaming now. Thanks everyone who tuned in. I hope this was enjoyable, and I will see you again tomorrow evening. Have a good afternoon, evening, or whatever it is you do. It's 11 p.m. here, so I should get off and let my girlfriend go to bed.